Okay, hello Minecrafters and Infitechers. Ark back here again. Alright, so now another machine you've probably been waiting for. You remember the biogas generator if you've watched that video. If you haven't, I have a video on how to put this guy together with, no fooling around, just gets right into it, shows you how to do it. But now I've got a new one here. So we'll quit fooling around and show you how to make Nitro Diesel. Now this is a very interesting animal here, and there is actually some steps that aren't fully automated, and I will explain why and how I deal with that fact. Let's start with what we're going to have. Inputs. I want to start with inputs. You need oil for this to make nitro diesel. I'm not including the oil cracking unit. That may change the game here some, but I have decided to leave that out because A, I haven't built it yet, and B, like I said, I need time to experiment with it and assess how it would change the game and if it would improve any of the types of oil used and any of the yields. So right now, this is just when you're in the straight oil phase. I'll show you how to do that. So there's got 3 types of oil in Great Tech, or maybe a 4th. There's that railcraft oil, but I think it treats it like raw oil or normal oil. But anyway, you have heavy oil, you kind of have regular oil, and then you have light oil. And so I will actually go ahead and tell you right now, the light oil on this is not, something that's angry. Oh, it's just an Enderman. An Enderman doing masochistic things on the hot pipes over there. Anyway, the light oil is actually not worth it with this thing. And we're going to go into the reasons here. So let's go ahead and jump into that first, because fuel is going to be everything for how you do on this. So light oil, as you can see, we can take light oil and I can distill that down into light fuel. And I'm going to take 75 of my oil to get 10 light fuel. So it's about 1 over 7.5. So let's do the math on that here. 1 over 7.5 would be around 13%. Yes, so you're going to get about a 13% yield there. Not really all that great. And so I've actually, if you do get light oil, either look for other types of oil or turn it into liquid propane gas and methane. The methane you can break up and use for to get carbon and hydrogen is one of those things that's you never seem to have enough of. So, and it is just an amazing source of hydrogen. So I would use it for that. The other option is, of course, you can just burn the methane. But that said, light oil, turn it into gas, because you're going to do much better at gases with that. Again, the oil cracking unit might change that game, but I'm not including that here. I will do another video on that guy, and I might even come back and say, hey, here's what would happen in this particular machine run. This particular run of making nitro diesel. But like I said, that'll be another time. So light oil, we're just getting that out of the way, is really worthless. So that leaves heavy oil and regular oil. So if I get the regular oil here, I don't know what in the heck I ended up in the middle of here, but let me try to get very heavy oil. Never heard of that. Let's see, oil, crystal oil. Well, heavy oil. Well, heavy oil, by the way, can be changed into a regular oil. We'll get to that in a moment here. So regular oil, what can you do with that in here? You can turn that into a 1-to-1 on light fuel. You are actually getting a profit here. Or this is the best as you can get. This is the best you can get without actually getting more than what you put in. So you're literally getting a 1-to-1 here, 100% conversion rate. That is as good as it gets. And notice the amount here, 512 EU for every 25 used. So let's go back to the heavy oil now, which is what I have. And I will show you why I don't just take the heavy oil, turn it right into the fuel. Let's see, heavy oil. I need to find something that shows it. There we go. Heavy oil, as you can see, I can turn that 100 into 45. So I'm getting a 45% yield, way better than light oil. But look at the cost here. So you can't and the distillery, you have to use 48 EU over T for this. You cannot use the low voltage machinery to do this. You have to use medium voltage or better. And so the heavy oil takes 100 and you get 45 back. 45% better than light oil, more than twice the, about 3 times, better than 3 times the yield of light oil, but abysmal compared to regular oil. But there is, it turns out, there's another way. Spending only 384 EU per 100 heavy oil processed, you can turn heavy oil into regular oil. You can then get 100% yield. So what I have done here is I have an advanced distillery here. If you are pumping regular oil and you're lucky enough to find that and only that, by all means use just a single distillery and skip this stage here. But if you have heavy oil like me, you're going to want to transform it so that you get 100% yield. So 100% of this will be done. And the cost of doing the heavy oil plus of the transformation and then converting it over is actually less than just simply throwing the heavy oil in for a loss. And so, because remember, it took over 3,000 EU to transform the heavy oil and a 55% loss. This thing does it for under 1,000 EU, and it's well worth the trouble, time, and effort. So let me go ahead and kick this guy in here so we can get this this Rube Goldberg machine I built here running. And there it goes. I'm running it off of biogas here. Biogas will do okay with this, but you're going to have to switch barrels out. You might have to wait for biogas to be generated by your machinery over there. I'm actually low right now. So do not move biogas using cells. The cells disappear when you drop the biogas in. That is a long-standing bug, and in fact, I just lost 2810 because of that a few minutes ago. I went to top this guy up here. I was going to top it all the way to 256, and then I realized my cells were disappearing after I put 14 of them in there. So that was a bit of a shocker, and I'd forgotten about that little problem. I know it did that with water, but I forgot that biogas does too. Some things you can move with cells, and some things you can't. Biogas and water are one of them that you cannot easily move without putting yourself at great risk of losing your cells. And it sucks. The universal cells don't seem to have that problem, but they've got their own issues with being used, so it is what it is. Hopefully someday whoever's maintaining GregTech will fix the cells so that that is no longer a problem, because that is one area where the game will mess you up. Right, so for power, liquid amount, gas turbine, I've got some battery buffer, and you will need some battery buffer because occasionally you will have some problems. So here we go. Heavy oil coming in, regular oil coming out, regular oil going in, light sulfuric fuel coming out. Now here's an area where I did not, now you need a chemical reactor for this here. Here's where I did not automate things very well, because I need to automate, I'm not automating the production of hydrogen. I'm not automating the emptying of the hydrogen sulfide that will come out, and then filling up one of these and putting one of these in. This requires so much effort to do that I honestly decided it was not worth it, and so what I decided is to make this as part of the setup. When you set this thing up to run, part of your setup is throwing enough hydrogen and empty cells in here to probably, most likely, empty your barrel, get you so you have an empty barrel here and fuel over here. Oh, I need nitro diesel. I need nitro diesel. How am I doing on this here? I think I've got enough left in there to polish that off. Let's see. Let me find an empty barrel. If I have an empty barrel, which I may not. I do apologize for this. I should be prepared better. Yes, here we go. So, I knew I had an empty one laying around. I meant to pick it up before I started. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this here, and it will take the nitro diesel. So, oil goes in, nitro diesel comes out, and I'll get to this funny little guy at the end here in a moment. So this chemical reactor you're going to need 3 chemical reactors. You're going to need 1 advanced fluid canner, 2 distilleries. Probably should have said that up front, but again, you do need a water supply. We'll get to that in a moment. So anyway, I've got this set up. Off it went. Some of the fuel, light fuel, has come in here. It's working with the glycerol. It is now turned into nitro diesel. And I will now go into, so this one here is pretty simple. The light fuel is going to come in here. It mixes with glycerol trinitrate, 4 at a time. You get 5,000 nitro diesel. with one input with 1,000 glycerol and 4,000 light fuel. So again, I've got a nice chain here. The glycerol, this is another area where you could automate things, but it's a pain in the butt, and you're better off to just prepare enough ahead of time so that you have it stored up in here. So what I did is I connected this to water, I dumped my nitrogen, which I have back here, in, and it will produce a whole bunch. I've actually got some buffered here because it can't put enough into this machine over here. So I've got my carbon, I just throw the nitrogen in, it produces it, it drinks a little water from this, no problem. This step takes a lot of energy, and it will actually, if it is running at the same time as the rest of this, your batteries will drain out and this whole thing will break down and you will have problems. So prepare this ahead of time. It does take a lot of energy, so you'll definitely want to maybe put your gas barrel back in the generator. Don't use cells because, again, it doesn't move properly without destroying your cells. So stick it back in the generator, let it sit a while, let it build up, and then you can easily go ahead and start this machinery up once you've already produced this stuff. So you will burn a good deal of gas because this is very energy intensive here. Now the gas I've actually got directly pumped into this guy here. It goes straight into here. Glycerol trinitrate, and that is all buffered up, and I've got some buffered up in cells in here as well. And now, so you're probably wondering, how is this fluid canner working? So what I've done is I've pointed the output of the fluid canner this direction into the advanced chemical reactor. The advanced chemical reactor's output is pointed this way, and it is, so the advanced canner is set to auto item output. This guy here is also set to auto item output. To suck the diesel out, I'm actually using a fluid conduit here, because I don't have a way to get the thing back out because the exit portal is blocked. Unfortunately, you cannot have separate input outputs without using a trick like this. So you're wondering what I did is I actually set these things so that the input can accept output as well. So these will actually accept inputs and outputs from each other. So the way you do that is you're going to have to get your wrench, and you can click this guy to point this towards this side here, for example. Point it toward a side where you can see it, screwdriver it, which will allow it to go in and out, and then you click, using your wrench, you click on this little, if you see this grid here, you can move it to any side by clicking there. So you click it and you point it back in that way. You then do the same thing here. I just move this guy around, I use the screwdriver, and then I clicked on this panel here to point them back into each other. So, because when you set them down by default, they will not accept inputs into the outputs. Now, they can do both. So what this will do is when this gets done, it'll process, it's going to chuck this guy out, and you'll notice it instantly came back filled. How interesting was that? So what happens, I check the empty one in, it went into here, it gets filled, it then gets chucked back over here where it waits. So these guys, because you can actually take advantage of the fact you don't have to deal with brass conduits or anything, these guys can literally just talk back and forth to each other. You just have to use the little... You just have to move. You just have to turn the you have to turn the output around so that you can screwdriver it first, and then you can turn it back in, and it doesn't lose its setting. So, pretty simple stuff. So, like I said, set your hydrogen up ahead of time. Again, once your run is done, then you can collect this crap and dump it into a barrel. You can set this. You should definitely do this ahead of time because it's energy intensive. Produce enough that you'll have more than you need, and so then you've got a little extra for another run if you need to do one. You can see it's cranking along here. It's started around 110,000, and now it's down to about 90,000, and you can see it's produced 15,000 here. There will be some stuff that gets stuck in transit here. This has to build up to 4,000 before it can process. But what you will get is you'll get, well, it's not exactly 1-to-1. You'll actually get more of this than you had of this. You'll get more than 110,000. Minus any leftover that's below 4,000 that gets stuck in this chemical reactor. It's unreacted simply because there wasn't enough of it. Or I'm sorry, this guy right here. You'll need 4,000 of that. This guy here has to build up. I'm sorry, this guy here has to build up not to 4,000, but it's like 6,000 or. I think it's 6,000. Yes, it's 6,000. Then you need at least 4,000 here. So it's possible some of your light fuel maybe they'd be trapped in sulfuric form here in an amount that's under 6,000. Some might be trapped here if there's under 4,000 left in this. So, like I said, it just depends on you know, how much oil you put in here and how much you have left over, stuff you have left over when it's done. But you will get for every 1,000 of this, you will get 1,500 of this, I believe, is the. I hope that's right. 1/5. Maybe it's an extra 250, but you're going to do pretty well on this. I haven't sat down and done that math properly, but it's not too hard to do. So I'll leave that as a bit of an exercise for you. The hydric sulfide, you're going to build up an awful lot of this stuff that's left over. Turns out the hydric sulfide does have a use. You can make sulfuric acid, which can be used for various things, making dynamite. You can also use it for power. You can extract a little extra energy by turning the hydric sulfide into sulfuric acid and then filling batteries, single-use batteries. The batteries can be then cleaned out afterwards and reused. So that's actually very useful for, you know, maybe if you build up enough of this, you can make enough batteries to go down and pump some oil with it. And hey, now you've gotten a little bit extra oil out of this that you can then throw in here to make more nitro diesel to power your always hungry machines. Nitro diesel, if you haven't watched my other video where I talked about fuel a little bit while producing this, nitro diesel is an incredible fuel. You'll notice here it is sipping maybe 3 a second out of this 100,000 barrels of, or this 130,000 MB barrel here. And you'll notice I'm making aluminium. I'm making lots of it. It's actually almost done here. It is quick. It is stable. I have actually made, let me think here, over 100 bars of mixed. I had 47 steel I had to melt, steel dust that I decided to melt back into steel bars. I had, I think I put about 64 silicon through this. I did put a run of stainless steel through as well. I think I did 32 of those, and I have probably done about almost 100 bars of aluminium, and I started with about 160,000 nitro diesel. I've only used 30,000, and I have cooked an enormous amount of stuff. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That is what nitro diesel will get you. It is just incredibly powerful. Liquid propane is great if you got light oil, but it's not anything close to nitro diesel. If you hit regular oil, rejoice. Regular oil, you can use this guy here only and go straight to work. It saves a step, saves some power, saves some time, and you'll be in good shape. If you get heavy oil, you can still throw a little bit of a party because all you have to do is turn that into regular oil, and then you get all the benefits of regular oil, and it really isn't very expensive to do that. 384 EU per 100. For the energy involved, it's nothing. I mean, even the biogas drum you see here, all this time I've been blabbering, it's only drained, it went from 240 some thousand down to 191, and I've, you know, produced 20,000 nitro diesel. Well, you saw what I got out, all that long list earlier, what I got out of 30,000 nitro diesel. It was just an incredible amount of stuff I've cooked. And yeah, you're not, and I even did some regular steel with that too. I mean, it just, your blast furnace will be very, very, very happy with you for having switched to this. I'm actually going to move the rest of my base over to it because biogas has gotten me as far as I can. All my machine lines are now upgraded to medium voltage, but medium voltage is just drinking too much biogas. Biogas will not get you on anymore. That's why you enter the oil age at this point, because oil is going to be your big industry. Until you get to the nuclear age and start producing reliable amounts of nuclear power, you're going to need this, and you're going to need it for a long time. Nitro diesel will take you comfortably into the high voltage age. Once you get beyond high voltage, it might start to be strained a little bit. I don't know. I've never tried nitro diesel in that age before, so it'll be interesting to see how it does. But I do believe it will comfortably get me into the high voltage age. I got decently well into the high voltage age in another game using just liquid propane, because I hit light oil all around me, and I couldn't seem to find much else. But this time I lucked into heavy oil directly under my base, and it's been an absolute godsend. I get almost 500 per tick on the out of the oil pump machine, the oil drilling rig, which I have done another video on already and posted. So, okay, I don't want to keep blathering here. That's the nitro diesel factory. If you want to sum up here, you need 2 advanced distilleries, maybe 1 if you were lucky enough to strike regular oil. You need 3 advanced chemical reactors, and if you want the nitrate, glycerol nitrate, and the empty cells to exchange nicely here to fill this guy up, you're going to need the advanced fluid canner. The advanced fluid canner is worth it simply because this thing can pump straight into it, and it'll keep this guy running without any real input. You do have the setup steps. You do have to add your hydrogen and empty cells here ahead of time. Make sure you have enough to keep it running so that you can walk away, do something else for a while, and let nitro diesel get produced. Same thing here. Produce enough glycerol trinitrate ahead of time so that you can go away and let it do its work. And then you don't have to bother to automate making the glycerol or the hydrogen and dealing with the hydrogen sulfide. You don't have to automate any of that. Just consider it setup and cleanup steps. And they really aren't that painful. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this is a useful concoction to you. If you come up with something better, let me know. I mean, this isn't bad, but there might be better ways to do this. There might even be less painful. There might even be ways to automate some of these steps here that I didn't automate, and to do those very easily and without wasting a ton of materials. Personally, I couldn't think of a way that made it worth it. So I think the time and materials and the extra machinery and the extra power involved just wouldn't be worth automating those steps, especially since I've got this guy running off a single generator. But like I said, it's up to you. So if you do come up with a better way, go for it. Make a video on it. You can comment, link it to it, and in the comment section if you want. And I'll be sure to point people there if I see something nice. So okay, thank you for watching, and have fun.